All right, guys, here we go. So today is an extension of what you guys did on Friday. On Friday, we did dilations when we had a scale factor of 1/2 that was greater than 1, right? So we took our original points and we multiplied by that number, correct?
Yes.
Does everybody remember that? So today, if you look, our scale factor is, what is it?
It's 1.5.
No,
1
it's,
over 1. 1 over 2.
I thank you for raising your hand, Noah. 1 divided by 2, but how do we say that as a fraction? 1/2, right? So it's smaller than 1, right? What about this scale factor here? Is it smaller than 1? What about this one over here? Is it smaller than 1? What about this one? Is it smaller than 1? Okay, so today we're going to learn about using a scale factor that is smaller than 1. Okay, so you're going to end up with a very small figure. Okay? So when I talked about dilations, I talked about making it bigger. That's an enlargement, right? So when your scale factor is greater than 1, you're going to make it bigger. That's enlarge. When your scale factor is smaller than 1, it becomes smaller. So that's when we talk about the word reduce. All right, so we're going to do the first one here, and we're going to do it exactly like we did the ones on Friday. So we're going to find our ordered pairs. So we have S prime, T prime, and U prime. And we're going to write down our ordered pairs. Oh, that's not prime. Sorry, my bad. These are not the prime ones. These are the originals. We're going to go from our original to our primes. So what's our ordered pair for S? From my point of origin, I'm going left or right? Left how many?
4, 5.
So that's going to give me a -4 as my X. Am I going up or down? Up how many?
2.
So up gives me a Y of +2. Let's do T. From my point of origin, am I going left or right? How many spaces?
4,
3. That's going to give me an X of -3, left 3. Am I going up or down to get to 2? Up how many?
5.
That gives me a +5. Up 5 is +5. Last one, U. Am I going left or right? Right how many? Am I going up or down? So up, right 1, up 1, 1, 1. Good. So now I need to take these numbers and multiply them by 1/2. So I gave you lots of space here. So I'm going to say -4 over 1 times 1/2. Okay, so what is that? What does -4 times 1 become? And what does 1 times 2 become?
2.
What is -4 divided by 2? My X is -2. Now I'm going to do 2 over 1 times 1/2. What is 2 times 1? What is 1 times 2? What is 2 over 2? That's correct, 1. We're dividing. Right? So you have to do that for all of them.
Wait, so we're multiplying for the y-axis, which is flipping it? The 1/2, or
We're not flipping anything. We're taking our X and Y coordinates, okay, and one at a time, we're making it a fraction and multiplying it by our scale factor. We're still multiplying by our scale factor, just that this time our scale factor is a fraction. Right? So it's not something you can do, or you can actually do it on your calculator, and I'll show you how in 1 second. So let's say I have -4. I just know that it's a negative, right? So I'm going to take 4 times 0.5, because isn't that the same as 1/2? And what do I get? 2, but I know it's going to be negative. I just didn't include the negative in my multiplication. So could you possibly do it using a calculator? Let's say 3 times 0.5 gives me what? That's my answer, okay? So it's a negative, so it's going to be a negative 1.5. Let's do 5 times 0.5. What do I get? 5. I did 5 times 0.5 gives me. So that is a positive 5, so it's going to be positive 2.5. The dilations are always a little bit more confusing, but not impossible. So 1 times 0.5 gives me 0.5. So I know both of these are going to be 0.5, 0.5. Okay, so don't get freaked out by the 0.5. The 0.5 is not a big deal. It just means half, right? So halfway up your box. All right, so let's go ahead and graph it. From my point of origin, I'm going to go left 2 and up 1. That one was super easy. And that is my S prime. Okay, here's T. T is going to be a little bit more confusing. Left 1 and a half. So I don't go all the way to 2. And then up 2 and a half. 1, 2, and right in the center is going to be my T prime. I'm not counting the whole box. I'm just going halfway up. So for U prime, I've got half and half. So I'm going to go right half and up halfway. And there's my U prime. Okay, you still need a straight edge for this. And then you connect your points. So now what we have is a dilation of this original figure by 1/2. So what would my decimal form of 1/4 be? Anybody know? Nope. Decimal form of 1/4. What is 1 divided by 4? What is 1/4 of a whole dollar? 1. So I want you guys to think of 1/4 of a dollar. How can you divide a dollar into 4? What do you end up with?
4 quarters.
You have 4 quarters. So if 1/4 is 1/4 of a whole, what would my decimal representation of a quarter be? What did you say 1/4 of a dollar was? 1/4 of a dollar would be what? 1/4. How do you write quarters in decimal form? Point what? That's 50 cents. So if I wanted to use a calculator to do this multiplication, I can multiply by 0.25. That is my decimal representation. This one's already in decimal form. We're going to do number 4. I changed the dilation to 1/3 just because it can possibly be 1/3, but you might get some funky numbers on this one. Let's move it over 1 space. We're moving it over 1 space. No. No, we're just going to do it as is. You're just going to get a funky number, okay? I'm telling you that because usually when you're dilating by a number, this 3 has to work out pretty much evenly with these numbers. So you're going to have some strange numbers. But that doesn't change the fact that you can still multiply by 1/3. Okay, so let's write our original numbers. What are our original go ahead and take the next 2 minutes and give me my original ordered pairs for V, W, U, and X. Okay? Take the next 2 minutes, and write down those ordered pairs. So I'm hoping yours match mine. And we're going to go ahead and take that and multiply it. So if I decided to use a calculator to do this, because I know you guys love your calculators, how can I find the decimal representation of 1/3? Earlier, Noah, you told me it said 1 divided by 2, right? So what does this tell me then? So? Okay. How do I read this then if I want to find the decimal representation, Noah? 1 divided by 3, because that's what it tells me, right? So I get 0.33. So if we want to get close, we can use the decimal representation of 0.33. Yes? Yeah, it's got a bar over it. It's a repeating decimal. Okay, when it says 33333, it just continues. It's a repeating decimal. You just put a bar over the 3. You guys haven't done that before? No, it should have been taught to you before. Now, whether or not you guys were actually listening to your teacher at the time, that's another story altogether. All right. I'm trying to make this thing brighter. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and write down our prime coordinates. Okay, so if I take 4 and I multiply it by 0.33, 4 times 0.33, what do I get? 1.32. Let's take 1 and multiply it by 0.33. What do we get? 0.33. All right. So go ahead, if you have a calculator, you should take it out. If you don't, you might want to go ahead and do this multiplication. No. Check your numbers again. I'll wait. All right, so listen. I would love to hear your questions, but I have 15 people talking, and I can only respond to one person at a time. So, Karina, what is your question? It's negative 0.66, yes. Okay, so remember, what we said was 0.33 is like 1/3. So you're going to divide your box into thirds, okay? So for your first one, V prime, we're going to go 1 1/3. So about there. It's not going to be an exact science. You're going to be estimating. Up, you're going to go 1/3. So this little point here is going to be your V prime. Again, not an exact science. If you're in the general area, you're good. All right. For V, for my Y, or for W, 1.65. So that's close to 1.66. So again, listen. 0.33 is 1/3, so 0.66 is about 2/3, correct? So I'm going to go 1 and about 2/3. My Y is 0, so I'm going to put a little point there. So, that's my W prime. What do you mean there's no label? Because I wrote W prime right here, and that's what I'm graphing. It's right there. And this is W prime. And it's not labeled because I wasn't done yet. The next one, U prime. 1.32. So that's about 1 1/3, right? So I'm going to go left 1 1/3. Then I'm going to go down negative 66, about 2/3, which is right where my W prime is. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write W prime over here. So 1 1/3 and then down 2/3. There is my U prime. Okay, last one, 1.65, that's about 1 2/3 to the right and then down 1 1/3. So 1 2/3 and then down 1 1/3. And yeah, remember I told you, I read at the beginning, shrinking it is going to be harder. Okay, so I'm going to connect my points here. And as you connect it, it is teeny tiny. Let's see if I can zoom it in. So it's still the same exact shape, just smaller. It's been reduced by 1/3. Okay? It is small. Okay, that's what a dilation by a scale factor that is smaller than 1 going to give you. It's going to give you something small. Okay, so it's super important, and I would write this in the notebooks that I asked you to take out. If you're going to use a calculator, 1/2 is the same as 0.5. 1/4 is the same as 0.25. 1/3 is the same as 0.33. Put that down in your notes. All right, for Saul, I'm just going to help you out with this. 5/2. Look, I'll wait, guys. In order to find 1/3, I divided 1 divided by 3, right? So if I do 5 divided by 2, what does that give me? So what is my scale factor then? All right? Okay, you guys ready? Get it done.